project, I'm starting with a piece of silver wire that's 1.6mm round and it's 16 centimeters long. I'm going to be using a synthetic amethyst for this project, and that measures 12 by 8mm. First of all, just flatten the ends. Bring them round, get them together, and then we're going to solder them with hard solder. Now, being a piece of flimsy wire, it's going to be hard to get the joint together and keep it together, so I'm going to hold one side with my third hand, and then I'll just solder one side. And then I'll bring the other side onto it. So I just need to weigh that down so it doesn't move around. Now that's the only solder joint in this project, so you could actually do this with just a blowtorch. So just clean the joint up. We're going to close it together. Make sure that the joint is on the long side of the oval. So we're going to keep that away from where the setting will be. I use my pliers, but I'm using nylon pliers, and then it's not going to damage my work, which means I don't need to do as much cleaning up afterwards. So I'm making one side smaller than the other side, and try and keep the middle bit as straight as possible. A little bit untidy at the moment, but that should stretch out once we start working on the mandrel. So I'm going to now form it into a ring shape and loop the smaller end into the bigger end. So I'm just going to have to open up the big end. So it should look something like that. I'm going to bring the ends up around a little bit. Now I'll fit this down. Just close up the wire on the wide side. So you could put any shape stone in here. And I've got another project coming up similar to this that we can use a pearl, or it could be a bead, a round bead. So now I'm going to put that on my mandrel and tighten it up and try and keep hold of the stone, stop it wobbling out. actually gripped quite tightly onto the stone already, and I need to straighten that stone out first. So I'm going to take it apart, and I might just shape the top a little bit better so it closes onto the stone better. So that's how that looks now. Just looking at that, it's kind of fitting in quite nicely like that. Do you know what? I might go with that. Oh. No. So I'll push it up the mandrel now, and it doesn't take much for it to lock the stone quite firmly in place. So now it's a matter of just tightening it up, and I'm just going to use my steel hammer just to shape the shank a little bit better. We'll file that into shape afterwards, and then just tap it sideways up the mandrel a little bit. It's time to start thinking about the finger size. That's very small at the moment, so I'll keep working it up the mandrel. It's quite okay to use a mallet for doing this. It's just I tend to stick with steel hammers, they work a lot quicker, and if you're very careful you don't do too much damage on the metal, so clean up shouldn't be too bad. Of course, as I'm doing this, I'm hardening the metal as well, so it's going to be quite springy and should hold this stone quite permanently in there. This is an idea I had last night, and I thought it's a bit too simple to be effective, but I think it is really effective. It's working well, and I did wonder about its how safe it would be to hold a stone, but I think I'd have a bit of a job getting that stone out of there now. So quite happy with that. It moves around a bit, but I'm still trying to work it up to a reasonable size. Straighten the sides of the shank a little bit. Okay, that's how it's looking so far, and just going back to my original length that I had, I'll give you the size that I've got so far on this, and it will go up a little bit more, so you might need to just add or subtract from what's the length was. So I've got a size J there, and I'm going to do something now that's it's up to you whether you do it or not. I think that looks pretty contemporary and pretty cool, and I don't think that stone's going to come out unless I really bend those wires around. I'm going to try and just tap the wires down a little bit further. Now you have to know what stone you're working with and whether it'll take it. So I'm not going to strike the stone, I'm just tapping on top of the silver. I just want to get it a little bit more onto the stone. So maybe when you're doing this, you could just curl it a little bit more than I did. I'll just show you the curl that I put on the end. So you can see the side I've just tapped down. There, it's a little bit tighter. I might try and tighten it a little bit more. I'm also going to just file this down as well and just shape it a little bit, but you could keep it like that. I just think it'll look nice if I thin it out so you can see a little bit more of the stone. So there's a few different things you can do just to finish it off. Now I can probably just tap it up a little bit more on the mandrel. So that's how it looks at the moment. I think that's worked really well, especially with the oval. Now you could try a round stone in there. Like I say, I've got a slightly different idea for a pearl, so I'm going to be showing you that as soon as I get a chance to put that one together. I might just fine tune these ends here. I'm in two minds whether to actually, because I think that looks really good. So what I'll do is I'm going to clean up the shank, I'm going to polish it up and then take a look. So try not to reduce the thickness of the wires as you file it into shape. I'm just going to tidy up a little bit, take some of the height off the top here. I'm not going to bend it any more onto the stone because the style that it is, it's not going to catch on clothing. It's not like it's a loose claw that's stuck up. And like I say, it's something that, you know, has really caught hold of the stone really well. So it's set firmly. But having said that, if yours does move around, wobbles around and that, it's not such a bad idea. It is a tension fit ring, and as long as the stone doesn't come out, I've actually made designs where this stone purposely moves around because that's one of the features of the style of ring that I've done. And this also, it could, with a round one, it likely would roll around. There wouldn't be a lot stopping it, so it's not a bad thing. Just make sure it doesn't actually drop out. And of course, when you're emery cleaning around the stone, don't make contact with it because it's very likely that the emery paper will scratch the stone. I know it would with an amethyst. There are stones that are hard enough to take emery, but just don't take the chance. For cleaning up in the very difficult places to get to, I'm using something called a brownie, and it leaves a really good finish, so it'll prepare it for the tumbler. Take the scratches and dents off. There's also a similar emery wheel that's called a greenie, and that's a finer grade, so it almost leaves a polish on the surface. I'll just polish up what I can get to. And then I will introduce you to my magnetic tumbler, which is a very quick way of finishing work. And the tumbler will get all inside there that I can't reach with my polishing mops. So this is the magnetic tumbler, and this is your regular vibrating tumbler. So this has got like magnets inside the machine that whirl around, and it sends these little steel pins whirling around whatever you put in there very, very rapidly. So there's my ring, and because it's so fine, the pins are so fine, it's great for cleaning up things like halo clusters and CAD things with tiny prongs everywhere. It gets right inside and everywhere, so that's the beauty of this machine, and it's a lot quicker. So I'm going to leave it in there for as long as it takes me to make a cup of tea and drink it, and that should be just about it then. So there we have it, a tension fit amethyst in a wire ring. There's only one solder joint, and the stone is fixed pretty firmly in that setting, so I'm very happy with that. As I said, you can use a round stone, and you may find that will move around, but as long as it doesn't come out, that should be fine.